We're going to do a review and my thoughts on this Bear Creek Arsenal upper with the PSA lower assembly. Now this is a very popular build option because if you catch it during the sales and some of the heavily discounted prices on this, you're building a basic AR rifle for under, at or under, depending on how what you select. 400 units or 400 C notes. But before we get into it, if you would please subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, and if you could, become a member. So I did two of these. This one I'm getting this review out because this is my friend's build in the 223 wide, and I'm going to probably drop it back off to him this weekend. But what we had, the PSA lower, I don't see any problems whatsoever with it. It functioned, did what it should do, and that, so it was great. Now when it comes to the Bear Creek Arsenal upper, there have been questions about quality control, durability, and numerous problems, be it the firing pin, ejector, and ejector pin. And also this particular build is just your basic flat top with this one's a M4 profile, so it's a government profile with the narrow bit there. It comes up for the gas block, I think goes out to 3/4, and there is the notch for the grenade launcher. So this barrel is contoured as an M4 carbine. It has a carbine length gas block. Okay, so functioning the gun functioned fine. I shot maybe 20-30 rounds to it. Nothing happened. It fed 3 different types of ammo. We'll go over accuracy towards the end of the video. The only thing I could find wrong with this, and it is somewhat of a common issue with the Bear Creek Arsenal uppers with the short carbine length gas system, the system's overgassed. What do I mean by that? The amount of pressure coming to make the action function is a little too much. Okay, this would function a lot better with a mid-length gas system. Your basic AR gas systems are not adjustable. So whatever it is, it is. And when I mean overgassed, this is not a direct impingement. This is a somewhat gas piston operated type of affair here. So what happens, we'll get this open. Alright, I'll zoom in. You see these 2 small holes here in the bolt carrier? Well, that's where the pistons are when the gas is tapped off into that chamber, expands, and then that makes the carrier move backwards, and then it unlocks the bolt. And these 2 little holes are to relieve the excessive pressure. Now, how do you know you're overgassed? Well, when it hits this shell deflector, your shells will bounce forward, and I'll explain it to you. When you're firing the rifle, and when the shell ejects, and if it goes forward of you to, like on a clock, the 1 or 2 o'clock position, okay, and the shells are going forward from, say, this line here, it's overgas. In other words, there's too much force with the operation of the bolt. And your recoil is going to be harder, the action is violent, and it will wear out your parts. Okay, and these are not exactly top of the line quality, so it stresses out the parts and things like your extractor and that, and your gun will wear out faster. Ideally, when you fire the rifle, and when I changed the buffer in this, I kind of got it to 3 o'clock, so it's like right here and maybe a little towards 4, but 4 o'clock, to know if your gun's functioning correctly, when you fire it and where your shoulder is, the cases should land somewhere behind you. Then you know your gun is gassed properly and working right. So like I said, functioning, firing, and that, we'll go over accuracy with the target at the end here. Not an issue. This gun shot well in that, and yes, it's not a lot of ammo. I'm not going to put, 5,000-6,000 rounds through it. That's not going to happen. So I decided that the way to fix this, now the fix, okay, instead of just saying, oh, well, they're overgassing that, it's a pretty simple way of fixing it. And how you would do that is you would change your carbine buffer weight. Okay, carbine buffers come in several different weights. There's a standard, there's an H1, H2. I found a place that had an H2.5 and an H3. Now we'll weigh the one that came with the PSA lower, and I'll weigh the H2 I put in there to make a difference. And we'll go over that, and I'll tell you the name of the company where I bought an assortment of buffers because they're pretty cheap. And I kind of never worked with them, but there's some questions about if they'll work well or not. We'll go over that also. Alright, I don't know if you can see the numbers or not in there, but I'll read them off to you. I have no reason to lie. Here is the standard buffer that came with the PSA lower. And this is just a standard buffer. This is a dead blow buffer, and that's going to kind of be important because the ones I got are solid steel. And the reason they're kind of inexpensive is because of that. There's a lot of good feedback. People say they use them, but you can also have the issue of bolt bounce, which can create problems. So the weight of this buffer is exactly 3 ounces on the nose. So that's a standard carbine buffer, 3 ounces. This is an H2 buffer, and you can find these on different websites. They're a bit expensive. I mean, they get up there to, 35, 40 units, depending on who you get them or what manufacturer it is. So with the 3 ounce buffer, I was overgassed and bouncing, and then I changed it to the H2, which came out to 4.6 ounces. And this kind of, the recoil was lighter, the cases were going where they should go, and all that other stuff. About 3, but it could be a little heavier. So I found a company, KM Tactical is the name of it, and they sell these buffers. They're not that expensive. Okay, I bought like 6 different weight buffers for what the price of one really good one would be. So we're going to also do a little investigation in that. I got H2, H2.5, and an H3. Now usually the H3s are for the larger, like the 50 Beowulf and that, to calm them down when you're shooting them. But their H2, they say, is 4.6. So that's what this is, 4.6. Their H2.5, which is kind of unusual, is 5.1 ounces and their H3 would be 5.7. So the reason I bought an array of these buffers is to see if you can use changing out the buffer weight to fine tune your AR and the overgassing problem. Alright. I can't show you how to disassemble it, but it's pretty simple thing to do. It's easy to change these out and put a heavier weight in there. Alright, now we'll probably close this out by going to and looking at the target, and we'll take a look at the accuracy that I got. Alright, let's look. These two groups here were done with our Winchester factory green tip ammo, 62 grain. I just threw one of those T-dot sights on there and then adjusted it a little and tried to see for accuracy. So our first 5 kind of came out at about a 2-inch group. So that was a 2-inch group. Now this one here, we had about 1 inch with the 3-shot group, but the flyers turned that into a 2.5-inch group, which a lot of these budget guns, that's about what they shoot. You kind of have to try to find ammo, and then again, it just could be my piss poor shooting. It might have been like 1.5 inch group if I was steadier. So that was that ammo. I took that, and see, this is where a lot of these are tears. Them backboards, when I hit them, this wood will splinter through and come out. I had the H2 buffer in, and I kept trying to look over my shoulder. This is the ammunition from Peru. Now this here is a 1-inch group, okay? And I kept turning my head to see where the brass was, and I could have distracted me into getting a 3-inch group there. That may have been my fault. This should be better. If this ammo performed a lot better in a different gun. Now, surprisingly, 5 shots with PPU 55 grain full metal jacket. That's 1 inch. I don't know. Let's be fair. The farthest. That is about 1 inch and 3/8 group there. That's 3 shots, which well under 1 inch, and a couple flyers there, which are bound to happen. Okay, these are not match barrels. They're not going to shoot, you know, all of them in one hole. But for a firearm that costs, you know, 400 units or less, if you catch a sale, that's not terrible on there. Of course, it was freezing, and I was cold when I shot these. So, my conclusions. Are these things worth it? Yes, they're a pretty good economic build. I mean, the price point, you can't beat it. Even when they had the sales and that, these price points are coming in lower. And with Bear Creek, you have a lot of different options, calibers, and everything else. But we're just sticking with AR-15s and the 5.6 caliber. You know, there was no problems with the functioning. Everything worked smoothly. Actually, this functioned better. Do you remember when I had the other two Bear Creek that had the Bear Creek lower, the bolt stop kind of was hard to depress? Didn't have that problem here. A lot of people might say, well, I don't like the fact I got to change out something or something like that. And you'll find a lot of videos where people will tell you the same thing. These uppers with the carbine length gas tube are overgassed. Okay. This is not the top of the line firearm, so you would want to tame the recoil and tune your system to shoot smoother, and it does. When I put that heavier buffer in there, the recoil and the functioning was an awful lot better. Okay, so in my opinion, they're worth it. I mean, you know, it's best to learn about your gun. Taking out that little buffer is not that difficult of a thing to do. Just depress the plunger down with a screwdriver, take it out, get the spring off, put the other one in, kind of get it in there, push it down again, slide it back into the recoil tube. Pretty simple deal. And it will function a lot better and add to the long, you know, the life of the gun. It won't wear out that fast or stress out parts that'll break. Bear Creek Arsenal does a lot of stuff in-house, the firing pin and some of the other stuff. So as for the durability of it, I can't speak because I have not gotten a round count through one of these uppers or one of these guns to vouch for it, honestly. But then again, like even with the buffer, they're not that expensive to replace if there's an issue. So yeah, I'm not sending this back, and this is my friend's build. I have to get it to him this weekend, and you probably won't see this one again. But the other one with the side charging handle, that's mine. And we'll do a review on that, and we'll get some more rounds, a higher round count on that one. All right, thank you.